God turned King Nebuchadnezzar into an animal-like state as a punishment for his pride and arrogance. This story comes mainly from Daniel 4 in the Bible. Here's what happened. Nebuchadnezzar, the powerful king of Babylon, had a dream warning him that he would be humbled if he did not recognize that God is sovereign over all kingdoms. The prophet Daniel interpreted the dream and advised the king to repent, humble himself, and show mercy to the oppressed. But Nebuchadnezzar ignored the warning. A year later, while walking on the roof of his palace, he proudly declared, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" Daniel 4 verse 30. Immediately, a voice from heaven decreed that his royal authority was taken from him. Nebuchadnezzar was driven away from people and lived like an animal, eating grass like an ox, growing long hair like eagle's feathers, and nails like bird claws. This condition lasted 7 periods of time, likely 7 years, until he lifted his eyes to heaven, acknowledged God's sovereignty, and was restored to his throne. The key reason for his humiliation was to break his pride and teach him that the Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will. Daniel 4 verse 32. In short, pride led to his downfall. God humbled him by making him live like a beast. When Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged God's authority, he was restored. This is also a major biblical theme. God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. Proverbs 3 verse 34, James 4 verse 6. Let me also explain the symbolism behind him becoming like a beast specifically. It's very interesting and ties to the nature of kingdoms and rulers in the Bible. In the days when golden cities touched the sky and the rivers of Babylon carried the riches of many lands, there lived a mighty king, Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of the greatest empire the world had ever seen. His word was law. His armies crushed nations. His palaces gleamed with gold, and his hanging gardens were counted among the wonders of the world. And yet, though his crown glittered, his heart grew heavy with pride. One night, when the moon bathed Babylon in silver light, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. It troubled him greatly. He saw a towering tree that reached to the heavens, sheltering every creature under its branches. But then, a heavenly messenger, a watcher, came down and cried out, "Cut down the tree, strip its branches, scatter its fruit. Let his mind be changed from a man's, and let a beast's mind be given to him, until he learns that the Most High rules the kingdoms of men." The king awoke in terror and summoned his wisest men, but none could explain the vision, until Daniel, the servant of the living God, came forward. Daniel's face grew pale as he heard the dream, but he spoke boldly, "O king, the tree is you. You have grown mighty. Your dominion stretches to the ends of the earth. But because of your pride, you will be struck down. You will live like a wild animal. You will eat grass like the oxen. 7 periods of time will pass over you, until you know that it is the Most High God who gives kingdoms to whomever he wills." Daniel pleaded with him, "Break off your sins. Show mercy to the poor. Perhaps your prosperity will continue." But Nebuchadnezzar's heart was unmoved. 1 year later, the king walked upon the vast walls of Babylon, walls so wide that chariots could race side by side atop them, and he looked over his mighty city. He spoke aloud, drunk on his own glory. "Is not this the great Babylon that I have built by my mighty power for my glory?" The words were still on his lips when a voice thundered from heaven. "O King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken. The kingdom has departed from you." At once his mind snapped. His royal robes slipped from his shoulders. His crown fell into the dust. His attendants fled in horror as their king howled and staggered on all fours. Driven from the courts of men, Nebuchadnezzar became like a beast of the field. His hair grew long and wild like eagle's feathers. His nails curled like the talons of a bird. He wandered the fields outside the city, grazing like cattle, soaked by the dew of heaven. Why a beast? Because a beast follows only its instincts. It seeks food, territory, dominance, without thought of God or morality. Nebuchadnezzar's pride had made him no better than a beast, ruling for his own glory, without recognizing the true king above all kings. His transformation showed the world this truth. Without humility before God, even the greatest man is no more than an animal. For 7 long years, Babylon's mightiest king lived as a beast, until one day, broken and humbled, he lifted his eyes to heaven, and in that moment sanity returned to him. His heart was filled not with pride, but with praise. Nebuchadnezzar stood up, a man once more, and declared, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are true, and his ways are just, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble." He returned to his throne, but now he ruled with humility, knowing that the glory was not his own. Thus the proud king became a servant of the Most High, and the beast became a man again. Let me tell you how this connects to the visions of the beasts in the book of Daniel, chapter 7. There's a fascinating link between kingdoms as beasts and Nebuchadnezzar's story, because this connection is deep and very important in biblical prophecy. Let's continue the story. The mystery of kingdoms as beasts, how Nebuchadnezzar's fall was a warning to the world. Years after Nebuchadnezzar was restored, during the reign of later kings, Daniel himself had powerful visions. One night, Daniel saw a stormy sea churned by mighty winds, and out of the chaotic waters, he saw four great beasts, each different from the others, rise up. The first was like a lion with eagle's wings. It stood on 2 feet like a man, and a human mind was given to it. The second was like a bear, raised up on one side, devouring much flesh. The third was like a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads. The fourth was terrible, more fearsome than the rest, with iron teeth and 10 horns. Daniel was deeply troubled and asked for understanding. And the angel told him, "These great beasts are 4 kingdoms that will rise from the earth." Daniel 7 verse 17, here's the connection. Nebuchadnezzar's personal transformation into a beast was not just about him. It was a prophetic symbol. All human empires, when ruled by pride, violence, and self-glory instead of God's justice, become beastly. Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome. They would each rise in their strength and splendor, but without humility, they would behave like animals, conquering, devouring, boasting. But without God's Spirit, kingdoms descend into brutality, instinct, domination, destruction, like beasts of the wild. Just as Nebuchadnezzar was humbled, so too every human empire that defies God will eventually be brought low. A deeper layer. The first beast, the lion with eagle's wings, is often interpreted as Babylon itself. Notice, it's a beast, but it is lifted to its feet like a man and given the heart of a man. Just like Nebuchadnezzar regaining his sanity and becoming human again when he honored God. Nebuchadnezzar's journey, from glory to beast to redeemed king, mirrors the journey God intends for all nations. Fall through pride, be humbled, rise again only by acknowledging the true King of heaven. In short, Nebuchadnezzar's animal-like fall was a prophetic picture of what happens to any king or nation that becomes proud and godless. The beast nature represents the fall of man and nations into instinct, violence, and selfishness without God's Spirit. True humanity, as God intended, is only restored when rulers and people submit to God's rule. Isn't it amazing how Nebuchadnezzar's personal story is woven into the prophecy of entire empires? Now let me show you how this ties into the final prophecy, where one final beast empire rises at the end of time before God's eternal kingdom is established. The final beast and the eternal kingdom, the last war between pride and God's glory. After Daniel saw the vision of the 4 beasts rising from the sea, his heart trembled, because the 4th beast was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was terrifying, with iron teeth. It devoured, crushed, and trampled everything in its path. It had 10 horns, and among them rose a little horn, speaking great boasts against God. Daniel realized, this final beast was worse than all the others, more violent, more proud, more rebellious against heaven. The 4th beast shall be a 4th kingdom on earth, different from all the others. It shall devour the whole earth, trample it down, and break it to pieces. Daniel 7 verse 23, and the little horn, the arrogant leader who rose among the 10, would speak words against the Most High, oppress the saints, try to change set times and laws. But, and here is the hope, the vision did not end there. Daniel saw something greater. The court of heaven opens as the beast raged on earth. Suddenly Daniel saw the Ancient of Days, God himself, seated on a throne of fire. Thousands upon thousands served him. The court was set. The books were opened. Judgment began. And Daniel saw, I saw one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. And he was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and peoples of every language worshipped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom one that will never be destroyed. Daniel 7 verses 13 to 14. What this means, the fourth beast represents the final evil world empire, a kingdom or alliance of kingdoms that will rise before the end of the age, hostile to God, oppressing the faithful and exalting human pride to the extreme. The little horn, speaking arrogantly, is often associated with the Antichrist, the final rebellious leader in end-time prophecy. But this evil will not last. The Son of Man, whom Jesus later clearly identified himself as, will come in power and glory, defeat the beast, judge the nations, and establish God's eternal kingdom, a kingdom of justice, peace, and truth. Just as Nebuchadnezzar was humbled and restored, the whole world will be humbled, and those who submit to God will be lifted up into his everlasting reign. Let me go even deeper and show you how Revelation, the last book of the Bible, continues this same story with the beast from the sea and the beast from the earth, perfectly ties everything together. Now we're entering the final chapters of the Bible, where everything Daniel saw is completed and fulfilled. Let's go slowly and build the full picture. The two beasts of Revelation, the final showdown between good and evil. In the book of Revelation, written by the Apostle John, God gives John visions that expand on what Daniel saw centuries earlier. John writes, "And I saw a beast rising out of the sea." Revelation 13 verse 1. Sound familiar? Just like Daniel's beasts rising from the sea. But now John sees two beasts. The first beast from the sea, the second beast from the earth. The first beast, Revelation 13 verses 1 to 10. It has 10 horns and 7 heads, very similar to Daniel's terrible fourth beast. It looks like a leopard with bear's feet and a lion's mouth, combining the beasts from Daniel 7 into one creature. It gets its power from the dragon, who is identified as Satan in Revelation 12. It speaks blasphemies against God. It makes war against the saints, believers, and conquers them for a time. The whole world worships the beast, amazed by its power. This beast represents a final evil empire and its ruler, the Antichrist, who will dominate the world through blasphemy, deception, and violence. The second beast, Revelation 13 verses 11 to 18. It rises from the earth. It has 2 horns like a lamb, but speaks like a dragon. It acts like a religious figure, deceiving the people. It performs miraculous signs, even making fire fall from heaven. It forces everyone to worship the first beast. It introduces the infamous mark of the beast, without which no one can buy or sell. This second beast is often called the false prophet. It represents a religious system that supports the Antichrist, fooling people into worshiping evil. It's the same story, but now seen more clearly. Daniel saw the shadows. Revelation shows the full light. How the story ends, the beasts seem unstoppable. But then the heavens open, and Jesus Christ, the true Son of Man, returns riding a white horse, crowned with many crowns. The beast was captured, and with it the false prophet. These two were thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. Revelation 19 verse 20. The proud empires fall. The rebellious rulers are judged. The deceivers are silenced. And then John sees, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth." Revelation 21 verse 1. No more beasts, no more war, no more pride. Only God's people living forever in his glorious, eternal kingdom. Let me also show you how the beast symbolism even goes deeper into the idea of humanity's fall from Eden and how true humanity is restored only through Christ. It would connect the whole Bible from Genesis to Revelation. Now we are about to see the deepest, most beautiful connection in the whole Bible. This is the hidden river that runs from Genesis to Revelation, tying everything together. Here we go. The great story. From Eden to the New Jerusalem, the rise, fall, and restoration of true humanity. In the beginning, God created humanity, Adam and Eve, in his own image. Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion. Genesis 1 verse 26. The humans were designed to rule the earth, but as servant kings under God's loving authority. They were crowned with glory and honor, Psalm 8 verse 5. They walked in peace with God, ruling with wisdom, love, and justice. But in Genesis 3, Adam and Eve rebelled against God's command. They listened to the serpent. They desired to be gods themselves, deciding good and evil on their own terms. In doing so, they fell. Instead of ruling with love, humanity now ruled with force, pride, and violence, like beasts. Cain murdered Abel. Nations rose in conquest. Pride multiplied like wildfire across the earth. Without God's spirit, humans live by instinct, survival, domination, lust, greed, just like animals. Man, though in honor, does not remain. He is like the beasts that perish. Psalm 49 verse 12. When humans build empires apart from God, they build beast kingdoms. Egypt enslaved, Babylon conquered, Rome crucified. The beasts Daniel and John saw are not just political powers. They are humanity itself, when it tries to rule without God. Then comes Jesus, the one Daniel saw in his vision. One like a son of man. Jesus did not seize power like a beast. He humbled himself. He obeyed God perfectly. He loved perfectly. He ruled by serving. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Mark 10 verse 45. On the cross, the beastly powers of Rome and religious pride killed him. But by suffering and faithfulness, Jesus defeated the beasts. He crushed sin, death, and the serpent's power. Then he rose from the dead, crowned with eternal glory. When you believe in Jesus, you are reborn. You are no longer ruled by beastly instincts. You receive God's Spirit inside you. You are restored to your original purpose, to rule with love, wisdom, and humility under God's authority. If we endure, we will also reign with him. 2 Timothy 2 verse 12. One day, when Jesus returns, those who belong to him will reign with him forever, not as beasts, but as true sons and daughters of the King. And in the final vision of Revelation, John sees not a beast-ruled world, but a new Jerusalem, a beautiful, shining city where God and humanity live together in eternal peace and joy. They will see his face, and his name will be on their foreheads, and they will reign forever and ever. Revelation 22 verses 4 to 5. This is the breathtaking story of the whole Bible. You are not called to live like a beast. You are called to live like a crowned child of the King, with love, humility, and eternal glory.